It is Throwback Thursday, where we dive into our vast CBC archives. Today, in honor of Earth Week, we're taking a look at the legacy of Greenpeace. Founded in 1971 right here in Vancouver, it's been fighting for environment protection for decades. One of their first demonstrations, a crew of 12 set sail to protest the U.S. testing of nuclear bombs off the coast of Alaska. Today's video takes us to the 20th anniversary of that attempt to prevent that bomb from going off. Have a look.
When you see people putting their lives on the line like this for environmental causes, you pretty much know it's got to be a Greenpeace protest. It was 20 years ago when Greenpeace first sailed on a passage of protest. 12 Canadians on a halibut trawler first set out to stop underground nuclear testing off Alaska. The year was 1971. The voyage was such a success that within a year the nuclear testing zone was closed and Greenpeace was officially established. Over the past 2 decades, it's become an internationally known environmental group, a success partly because of their tactics. Over the years, Greenpeace has perfected the media protest. They call it well-publicized, non-violent, direct action. Today, the environmental group is in 26 countries. 5 million people belong. But it all started right here, in a little house on the west side of Vancouver.
It was really exciting. Especially, they gave me a feeling that one person really can do something.
You feel very proud today?
Yeah.
Yes, proud and also very tearful.
And I'm also
really choked up because, well, I would have liked my husband to have been here to see this.
Yeah.
But I always think, well, maybe somewhere he knows.
It was Dorothy Stowe's husband, Irving, along with Jim and Marie Boland, who first set sail on the original protest. It seemed only fitting that they would participate in this 20th anniversary of Greenpeace in the very harbor they first sailed out of.
It just appeals to something very basic in people, their fear of their world being destroyed. And I think everyone has that feeling, probably even in the headquarters of Macmillan Bloedel, but they'll never admit to it.
But Greenpeace itself has become a large corporation. Some people say its very size is obscuring its grassroots origins, and it lacks the effect it had in the past.
Thank goodness somebody's doing it. How can it get too big? If the whole world becomes concerned about the environment and takes action, then things are going to change for the better.
And the world hasn't changed its size, but there are more of us, and until we change the way we live and the things we're doing, Greenpeace is going to be needed. It would be nice if it weren't.
Deborah Goebel, CBC News, North Vancouver.
We're now joined by Keith Stewart from Toronto. He's the senior energy strategist with Greenpeace Canada. Keith, thanks for joining us. The early beginnings of Greenpeace were quite radical, if we could say perhaps for the time. Yeah. How and why has that changed, do you think?
Well, I think part of what we're trying to, in the 1970s, they were really trying to raise awareness of problems that people weren't aware of. And now I think we have more awareness of the problems, but the solutions are tougher. And so it's trying to push those solutions and trying to get a sense of what are the systems underlying them. But we're not, like one of my colleagues got arrested in Ottawa today for setting up a plastics factory outside of the international negotiations of the plastics treaty. In the last 2 months, I've been arrested in Chrystia Freeland's office calling for action on climate change, and I got literally thrown out of an Axe the Tax conservative rally for holding up a sign saying act on climate change now. So, we're still out there, but there's, I think, a bigger emphasis on focusing on the solutions now and not just the problems, although we still can't ignore those.
Now there is mention in the story we showed from 1991 about how Greenpeace was once small, grassroots, started in a basement. It's gone international. Even then, in 91, there was talk of concerns that it may have become too big, too corporate. Has that hindered Greenpeace's ability to have the same impact perhaps it once had, do you think?
Well, before I joined Greenpeace, I actually had the same questions, and I actually went out for beer with Bob Hunter, one of the founders, journalist formerly in Vancouver and then Toronto. And his point was like, well, Greenpeace, it was small when we started, but we're facing the biggest, baddest corporations on the planet. So we also had to be big and global. And Greenpeace is in 40 countries around the world today. We're pretty much everywhere. But I would also point out that, the Greenpeace Canada budget is 1/3 of what the Suncor CEO got paid last year. So, we're big by environmental group standards, but, like when an oil executive makes 3 times as much as Greenpeace does in the country, I think it's a David and Goliath thing still going.
Very different organizations, fair to point out. What do you hope for in the future, and how do you see people either getting involved or changing the ways they are involved in the environmental movement?
So I think, when we started, it was, the concern was nuclear war, then a lot of stuff on forestry and toxics, and we're still working on those things. But I think the big concern right now is the climate and biodiversity crises, which really bring all that together. And the climate crisis that I've been working on the last 30 years, it's so big, it can be really daunting to think about what you can evolve. But I think the flip side of that is there's something that everyone can do to make a difference. And I think for the viewers, I just find the thing that you are good at, that you enjoy doing, that is going to help make this world a better place. If you want to come with us and come to protests, if you want to help make art to bring along to those events, if you want to just do things in your own life, find that thing that you're good at, that you enjoy, and that's making the world a better place, and double down on that.
Keith Stewart, Senior Energy Strategist with Greenpeace. We appreciate your time and your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.